Yo, what's going on, everybody? It is Straight Out of Boston here, and today I'm back for episode number 2 of my Road to the Show series here on MLB 17 The Show. So today we're back, episode number 2 of the Jason Schaffer series, getting into some more of his first month as a professional ball player here for the AA Midland Rockhounds, a second-round draft pick of a year ago, starting out the 2017 season with the AA affiliate for the Oakland A's, but could potentially be fast-tracked to the major leagues due to a lack of shortstop depth at the major league level for the Oakland A's, and all Schaffer has to do is pull himself up to a 77 overall to be tied for the highest overall in the organization at shortstop. But just focusing on what we can control right now, and that is having as much success as possible at the AA level, and you can see doing a good job of that there. We earned the 5-4 victory over the Springfield Cardinals, the Cardinals team that was 0-9 entering that game, now 0-10 entering this one, as I've come up down 3 runs here in the 8th inning, facing Springfield here as a pinch hitter, I believe, and actually hit that one into left field for a base hit. Little no doubles defense, but it gets by the left fielder, so 2 runs are going to score. I'm actually going to try and head up to third base on the play. Throw goes home, so I'm not going to have a problem getting there. But anyway, one of the reasons I wanted to start up a Road to the Show series was to do something I used to do with Road to the Show videos, and that was mix in a little bit of real-life MLB talk, especially as we get towards the last third of the season here. We're post-trade deadline. We're into the month of August. Pennant races are really starting to heat up now. Lots of drama, and September-October baseball is always the best, so what better a time to start this kind of series than this time of year? Take a look at this pretty funny player interview there at the end of the game after I got player of the game for getting a 2 RBI double in my 1 at-bat. But anyway, obviously the biggest thing that happened in baseball recently was the trade deadline. It was a pretty quiet deadline up until like the last 30 minutes, and then deals just sort of seemed to fall out the wazoo. Of course, the Yu Darvish deal to the Dodgers seemed to happen within the last like 5 minutes of the 4 o'clock deadline. I thought and I'll talk about that trade a little bit. Some people, perhaps think, well, they're already so good, why add another starting pitcher? And yes, you do have a point. I mean, the addition of Darvish over, a Hyunjin Ryu or a Brandon McCarthy, whoever gets left out of that rotation, I think it is going to be Brandon McCarthy, is not as much of an upgrade, and this is my first AA home run, by the way, but it's not as much of an upgrade as you would get from sending Yu Darvish to the Baltimore Orioles, perhaps, where he would be replacing, probably one of the worst starters in the league, since that rotation is the worst in the league. So, there is that side of it, but at the same time, because the baseball playoffs are so random, and this was mentioned on the Ringer MLB podcast, I forget by who, but it was a pretty good line, and he sort of just said that, because of the randomness of the baseball playoffs, and because you can never really guarantee yourself a title, unlike, in basketball, in a sport like basketball, when you're the Golden State Warriors, you haven't guaranteed yourself a title, but you've gotten yourself pretty darn close. In baseball, the Dodgers haven't guaranteed themselves anything. They could still just as easily lose in the division series. And so there is no point where you really hit diminishing returns on adding to a roster like that when it comes to the postseason. So the Darvish deal does make a lot of sense in my mind for that team. And they only had to give up Willie Calhoun, who is a good bat as a prospect, but doesn't really have a position. And it seemed like the price was a little bit lower than maybe the Rangers would have liked, ideally, just because Darvish had been struggling a tad bit in the first half, especially with the peripherals. But the strikeouts are still pretty high for him, and I'm sure he looked really good in his first start with the Dodgers on Friday night. And I think by the time this video goes up, he might have already made another start, so who knows. But I think the team that did the most, or the team that had the best trade deadline, was definitely the New York Yankees. Team that it was in pretty good position. Obviously, they had kind of a surprising first half. They overplayed a lot of expectations. I don't think people quite thought they were going to jump out to the lead in the division like they did. And then they certainly fell back in the month of June. There was that 21-day stretch where the Red Sox made up 8 games in the division, went from being 4 down to 4 up. But then right out of the All-Star break, the Yankees started to close that back. They retook first place, and then in this last week or so, the Yankees have slipped again, and it's the Red Sox that have gotten hot. They swept Cleveland and Chicago back-to-back, although that Cleveland series is only a 2-game series thanks to the rain out. And just like that, the Red Sox are back in first place, actually gapping themselves a little bit, but they've got some pretty big series coming up against Tampa Bay and New York, so things could change rather quickly in that division. Lots of division games coming down the line here for pretty much every team. I noticed I know they've been doing this a lot in recent years, but it seems like more so this year than in the past. They have been stacking division games at the end, because it feels like the Red Sox haven't played any division games yet. I think they've only played the Blue Jays and Orioles like 6 times each or something like that. So lots of division games coming for this team, which is not necessarily a bad thing because the AL East isn't actually that good this year. But the Yankees, they already had a pretty good roster. They had lots of guys kind of overachieving, playing over their heads perhaps. I think some guys in their bullpen. I look at someone like Starlin Castro who's having a career year, Aaron Hicks before he got hurt. And you think about the sustainability, even Aaron Judge, the sustainability of the levels of play from those guys, you can't really rely on, I think. So that is one reason why I like them going out and making a deal. They also have a pretty good run differential, easy second half schedule compared to a lot of teams. So I think that, them adding and them being aggressive was the right move, and I liked their approach. They didn't take on any big salary because they're still very much sort of playing their cards close to their chest for the upcoming free agent classes of 2018 and 2019, which are going to have some massive, massive names in them. Lots of talk that those free agent classes are already, shaping how teams are making decisions, how front offices are making decisions at the major league level, and I think that's pretty obvious right now. You see teams even like the Yankees being very cautious with where they spend their money, trying to keep their books open to potentially go out and get a Manny Machado or a Bryce Harper or someone of the like. But when you look at the trades the Yankees did make, I really liked both deals for them, the one with the A's and the one with the White Sox. My favorite and kind of the most interesting trade I thought that went down was the White Sox one. And I think the main reason they had to give up Blake Rutherford to get Robertson, Frazier, and Conley was actually for Tommy Conley because, or Canley, I think it's Canley, who has, I think, 3 or 4 years of team control left and has been pitching like one of the game's best relievers in the first half. I haven't quite seen how he's been doing with New York, but I know before the trade he was like something like 15 Ks per 9 and 1 walk per 9 or something like that, which is just absurd. So pitching like one of the best relievers, and I know that it's kind of a breakout year for a guy like that, but still, when you go from a starter to a reliever, things tend to become a little bit easier for you. Let's take a look at these. I love these new ridiculous home run celebrations they have in this game. I'm going to keep switching them around, but some of them are pretty outrageous. Like I point at my third base coach, and then I come up to the guy who was on deck and bow to the away crowd, which I thought was kind of just outrageous. So anyway, I really liked that White Sox deal, though, for both teams. And the White Sox packaging together 3 guys to get another top 50 prospect is very smart, rather than trying to trade 3 of them individually, because, the pony is better than 3 horses, I think is the old saying, or a pony's better than 2 horses, or something like that. And that definitely applies to baseball prospects, in my opinion. I think if you can always go out and get the elite guy, you want to get the elite guy. Not saying that Blake Rutherford, who has been struggling at A-ball this year, is going to be, a 4 or 5 win corner outfielder for them in the near future. But what the White Sox have done is they've amassed so many top 100 prospects that really they just need 3 or 4 of those guys to hit, and they're going to be in really good shape to be a good team. And if 5 or 6 of them hit, then they're going to be in like Chicago Cubs status of shape if they get some pitching. So, things looking really, really up for the White Sox. But I thought the Yankees got good deals on both of their trades. I think getting Conley and then, as well as Robertson and Frazier for Blake Rutherford was a good deal. And I think the package they gave up for Sonny Gray, when you look at the package compared to, what the Cubs gave up for Jose Quintana, who I think is kind of a similar trade piece, I would value Quintana a little bit higher because he's got the more friendlier contract, more years of control, and I would say a little bit of a better track record than Sonny Gray, although both had struggled recently. And Gray, he had gotten it going the last couple of months, but struggled a little bit earlier in the year, and then kind of the same thing with Quintana, although it hadn't been until more recently that he had started to get it going a little bit. But anyway, I thought that the package that they gave up for Sonny Gray was pretty nice for the Yankees. I mean, Jorge Mateo is certainly a high-end guy, but his best tool is his speed, which, is not necessarily a skill that always translates to success at the major league level. And then you look around at the other guys. James Capillaren is, coming off of Tommy John surgery. Dustin Fowler completely just destroyed his leg in that accident in Chicago earlier this year. So it's kind of a high-risk, high-reward package for the A's, which I don't necessarily mind from Billy Beane, but you could look at that trade in 5 years and say all the A's got out of it was a 4th outfielder in Dustin Fowler, and Capillaren and Mateo just never worked out. But who knows? We will see. We will see. You can never judge. The thing about trade deadline talk, too, is, like, I really can't stand it when people try to just assume that, the trade is done and you can judge the trade a day after it happens. Like, no, you have to wait. I mean, the way we look at these trades changes so much over the years. If you look at that Zach Wheeler for Carlos Beltran trade, like, that happened in 2011 at the deadline, you could have you know, 3 years ago, you would have said that was an absolute steal for the Mets. And now Zach Wheeler hasn't pitched in the big. Well, he's been pitching this year and he's been bad. But you know, he hasn't really turned into that guy. And even the Drew Pomeranz, Anderson Espinosa trade, Red Sox fans are freaking out about that. Now Espinosa's having Tommy John surgery, and Pomeranz is pitching as well as Porcello was last year. So I don't, you know, and I always liked that trade. I never thought they overbid. I thought that was always just a market for a young, controllable starting pitcher who was good, and Pomeranz has proven to be that. So anyway, we're taking on the Corpus Christi Hooks here. This is the Astros farm system, and they were pretty much wrecking us in this series. They take home the win there. I think this is the last or second to last game of the episode. I know this is the last series, but for the highlights, I'm pretty much just showing the extra base hits and trying to show the singles that are nice, like, I don't know, with RBIs, or if I hit the ball hard, or if something funky kind of happens. But in Double A, I'm pretty much dominating. My overall rating is a little bit too high to be in Double A right now. I definitely should be in at least Triple A, and I'm kind of showing it here. I was trying to take my walks and try to, you know, amass a realistic slash line, but I think by the end of the episode, I was somewhere near 400 with maybe like a 420, 430 OBP and probably slugging in the 600s or 700s. Didn't really have the long ball working so much, but tons of doubles and triples, lots of extra base hits. Taking advantage of some of these spacious ballparks in this Double A league, the Texas League, especially when we were playing Tulsa. They have a huge ballpark that I just missed a couple home runs on, but I did get a handful of extra base hits in that series. Striking out on the high fastball there, that was a nice pitch. Now 10-0 Corpus Christi here. They actually jumped out to this lead in the third, as this is what I'm talking about. They are just dominating us. Here's a nice little bloop double, though, that goes over the head of Jonathan Singleton right there, and I actually get thrown out at second base. But getting a little too aggressive there. Not a huge deal when you're down 10 runs, and Corpus Christi would take home the victory. So this is the last game of the episode now, as it's our finale against the Corpus Christi Hooks. And you can see I'm hitting the ball pretty well into left field. This ball kind of curving, some interesting physics on that ball. And that was one of the rare times I actually power swung. I usually don't power swing in this game. I pretty much stick to the normal swing, where I'm trying to sometimes get the ball in the air, but often just hit a line drive, or use a contact swing. I do like to use the contact swing when it's 0-2 or 1-2, or if I'm really trying to work a walk with someone. Then even if it's 2-2 or 3-2, you can continue to sort of fight off pitches with that contact swing and hopefully work the walk. But anyway, there was a nice RBI base hit, and then here later in the inning, they got a perfect bunt by our one of our batters there. I'm going to score on the play, mishandled by the third baseman. So Midland coming to play today. We've got a 4-1 lead over Corpus Christi in the top of the 7th. I am at the dish with a 3-0 count, swinging away and driving that one to right center field. That's going to get down, and one hop up off the green padding on the wall right there. It will be a double for Jason Schaffer, who continues to display the extra base power as Midland would pick up the victory. So I think that was our only win in the series. We are 11-9 though through 20 games in the year. Not too concerned with how the team does. I expect to be called up before the end of the season, so it's not going to be a huge deal if we don't make the playoffs or anything like that. But while I'm here, I'd like to win as many games as possible and help contribute. So that's going to do it. Hope you guys did enjoy. Thanks for watching, and I'm out. Peace.